this episode of Business Growth, I'm talking with Scott Paul and Austin Emery. Now, you probably remember those names from a couple episodes ago. And Scott is an investor. And we also talked about influencer marketing and the things that Scott has done in the business world. The reason why we're talking about cryptocurrencies is it's a hot topic. It's something that a lot of business owners are thinking about. And they're even thinking about accepting cryptocurrencies in their business. Now, I want to let you know that there is no offer, webinar training, or anything like that. We are just three guys talking about cryptocurrencies, and Scott is honestly my go-to source when I'm talking about this stuff and learning. Because Scott is inside of this industry and pretty deep with it, I felt like it would be best for you to hear from him without having to hear the constant hype and pitch that is being sold throughout the online world. I mean, it's pretty tiring. So this is real conversation that may help you get some insight, and maybe you'll walk away from this episode and think that accepting cryptocurrencies is something you want to do, or maybe taking a little bit of the capital you have and putting it in there may be a good option, or perhaps you're just going to say, dude, I don't agree with any of this, and I just want to sit on the sides. Regardless, I think this conversation will help out. With me, I've got in person Scott Paul and Austin Emery, and we're going to have a conversation about cryptocurrencies, and we're going straight to the source. Scott's been into crypto for several years. You got in early, not at the ground floor, but you got in fairly early.
I got in after Mt. Gox, but before the run-up, so it was a good time.
Yeah, definitely a good time. So if you could, with our audience, help them understand a little bit more about cryptos, why you decided to get into it, and help us understand where you think cryptos are going.
There are a lot of experts talking about cryptos, and I am not one of them. And people that have a lot to say about them, you'll find that they are just making up stuff too. We don't really know what this is. At the end of the day, like why the price is moving around, stuff like that. But we do know, kind of what the white papers and what they are fundamentally, and what they're trying to accomplish, which is essentially a decentralized currency. And when that was first explained to me some odd years ago, I was a late night with a close friend of mine in LA where he took a good 4.5 hours to explain to me the very beginning of the guy named Satoshi who wrote the paper about on Bitcoin, and essentially it's the founder who no one knows about or who doesn't even know his identity, but holds a lot of these cryptocurrencies. And he told me the whole story of how it works and how the blockchain works and how the computers are mining these things and how you get the coins and how you transfer the coins. And it all sounded pretty, awesome and sophisticated, but also like when I realized that there was an app called Coinbase where I could just download and get the coins, much like PayPal, and I didn't have to actually figure out how to put a computer in my basement and hook it all up and put it on a wallet. I didn't know that stuff was complicated to me. I didn't have time for that. I'm running, full time doing some other stuff. So I learned about Coinbase, and I just took a gamble with saying I should have some of my net worth into this cryptocurrency. And that time it was Bitcoin. And then shortly after I did that, this thing called Ethereum popped up in the app, and I'm like, you know what? I've heard some good things about it. These smart contracts, Let's put some into Ethereum. And I just bought and let it ride. And when Litecoin showed up in the same app. So that's a story of a very unsophisticated way. There's no magic to it. It was the fact that I wanted to diversify. And I've done that in stocks. And I've done that in real estate. And I've done that in all other parts of my life. So that when there was another asset class, these cryptocurrencies, I did the same practice that I did in everything else. The good thing was that the timing was right. And that the diversification was wise, having some Ethereum that's today doing relatively well compared to other currencies. I didn't need to understand everything going on, but as I've been in it, I've learned more and more of what I have. How to secure it, how to actually mine it, what makes them different. Now there's a whole bunch of ICOs and altcoins and stuff. I'm a pretty simple vanilla person. I'm not exploring too much beyond some of the things that I understand and have a major appeal to a global population. And a lot of these the coins that are there's about 2,300. I can't remember how many there are, but like there's some that I'm not going to go play around and try to guess on a penny stock. It's not my game. I'm not trying to time these things. I'm not buying or trading. Or sorry, I'm not trading. I'm holding. I'm buying and holding. Even though everybody tells me every time, sell, 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 sell. That's not my strategy.
So why should normal, everyday people put a little bit of money into cryptos?
That was for Austin here. I saw Austin every month for about a year and a half. What did I tell you?
In August, probably, of 2015, Scott said, hey, you need to get on this Bitcoin thing. Promise you it's going to be big. And as the price back then was $300 something probably for Bitcoin. I don't even want to think about what it probably was for Ethereum and Litecoin. I mean, cents to the dollar or whatever it was. And I remember him telling me all about it, and I was just like, at the time I didn't have as much cash, and I was, but I was still looking a little bit for investments, and I was kind of like, I don't know, it seems kind of sketch, and it's really, very hesitant to do anything. And then 2 years later, all of a sudden, Bitcoin hits 8,000, and Scott here goes out and evangelizes for it and starts handing out some Bitcoin just to try to get other people, because he felt like he had such a good deal with it that he was, luckily for me, willing to, give away a little cash, and I'll let him talk about that a little more, that, just to get people on it. And so now, 2 years later, I hopped on this last fall and just got in and just put a little money in and kind of just to see what would happen. And it became very addicting, because especially I got in a time where there's a lot of high growth. And before I knew it, I was putting in, not a huge amount of my net worth, but certainly enough that I would make sure that, I'm getting some good returns, just because, as the more I learn about it, the more I see the possibilities, the more I see where it's come from and where it is now, and where no one really knows, but where people believe it will go. I would call myself a very, a very casual cryptocurrency buyer. And myself too. I'm not a day trader by any means or anything. I'm not watching the charts and selling high, trading, whatever. But it's the appeal of it is that for a lot of people, like me, it's investments. They see how quickly they can make money off of it. And maybe I'm not a orthodox crypto guy where I'm like, doing this because I know this is the future. And in 20 years, when Armageddon happens, and we'll all be living post-apocalyptic trading Bitcoin. I don't know that I'm on that train necessarily, but it's certainly in the several months or a few months I've been on it, I've been invested in it thanks to Scott here. It's definitely treated me pretty well, and as far as where it's going, I don't know exactly, but I'm excited to kind of see in the few investments I have made, and I've gotten into small coins. What kind of happens.
The last thing would be that why should everyone there shouldn't be a soul out there who doesn't have the time to sign up for Coinbase and place the $100 to say they were here. It's they were here, part of this. They took a vote and said, why not challenge the fiat, the USD? Why not challenge the premise that can be the only coin that we can use and kind of has value? Challenge that by taking a vote and getting yourself $100 of it. And that's the problem. That's what I put out on Facebook. I said, if you're my friend on Facebook and you have not already gotten a Bitcoin, go grab Coinbase and I'll put $50 in your account. And most people on my Facebook out of my 800 friends did that, actually. And it was more than I expected to give away, but I held to my promise and gave thousands and thousands of dollars away that turned into those people double what they had. And it's a lot of them put their own money into it. So it created what I wanted to create, which is, just make sure you have some holdings in this movement that is a once in a lifetime movement, that we get to see and watch a digital asset like this grow out of nothing and mined with computers. And no matter how crazy and fake you think it is, you play fantasy football too. You can get into Bitcoin. We do a lot of irrational, stupid things. This is one that actually might be irrational, stupid that could benefit you and your family for the generations. So have a stake in it. Vote with your dollar and do something.
I think that's a great summary, Scott. What is your perspective on risk? And I think this will be our final question. with risk in Bitcoin? Do you look at it as that you're trying to get a return on investment, or are you more orthodox, as Austin was saying, that you're in it because this could be the new wave of the future?
This is going to go to philosophy. So I've tried to study Stoicism and how they deal with loss. And so I've already the Stoics in ancient Greece, they would visualize the worst thing happening. Every morning, wake up and try to picture their family dying, whatever it is. I mean, it sounds really morbid, but the result was that they would be super grateful for everything they have as they visualize these things. And so my kind of approach to Bitcoin is I've already lost it. Meaning I put, let's call it 50K. I put 50K into it. It's already gone in my mind. So every day I wake up and it's anything is makes me happy. I actually have more angst about selling it and watching it go on to be the future currency than I do of having it go to zero. Meaning, so my decision to hold is that I want to be there and stick through it and be hopefully be rewarded for sticking through it or helping it reinvent the world because I voted with my dollar and didn't sell out. Great if you make some money during it. Most people will if they jump on this transformation of wealth that's happening with the new currency coming about. But I've already lost it, and so because it's already gone in my brain, it doesn't allow me to get to a day like today where it's dipped down a ton. It doesn't ruin my day. I'm going to go on and do life and be fine. And if it goes to zero, I'll be shocked, but I'll be like, guys, wasn't that an amazing 2 years? Like, can you imagine all the technology? Look what we did with computing. Look how fast we made computers that were so built to just mine this hash rate. These things that they're sitting out there just trying to decipher code. And like we've progressed so much, and that's really the reason I don't think it's going to go away, because we have progressed so much that I don't think this is just all in. Something's going to come out of all this, and there's going to be real utility. That's going to come out of all this hype that's happened. And so, luckily, the financial reward has hyped people to kind of get on board and build a network effect. But after the dust settles, there's going to be real technology that will change the lives of everybody. How we distribute, possibly funds for the third world to keep, cronies and corrupt systems from taking all the dollars that we transfer for, third world countries from first world countries. There's going to be great things happening out of this. I'm excited to see. And, so I hold forever because it's a belief system, right? And it's already zero in my mind. So it's kind of a weird way to look at risk. Now, to everyone else who doesn't want to lose money and needs that money to turn into food and everything else, you might want to sell it at the right time. You might want to be in and out of it a few times in your life. You may want to not put too much into it, because I wouldn't suggest anybody put in an amount that they couldn't part with. I would think of it as being zero the second you put it in. So just treat it like you would, treat the money you're putting into Vegas or into a stock market or something else. But don't forego buying a house because you want to invest in crypto. That might sound like stupid advice 2 years ago, because if you forewent buying a house and invest in crypto, you would have been able to buy. But it's a fundamental thing still that you don't invest what you don't have. And that's, I don't think that'll ever change no matter how valuable crypto is. So.
Thanks for taking the time with me today, guys. Thanks for listening to another episode of Business Growth. Now, if you'd like to get in touch with Scott, ask questions, there'll be a link to his LinkedIn profile in the show notes. Now, with cryptocurrencies, we're not selling anything, but as a disclaimer, it is something that you're going to be putting your money into or that you'd be accepting as a business owner. So this isn't financial advice, legal advice, or any of that. Consult with professionals if that's something you want to do. Now, if you want to get on this podcast as a guest, reach out to me. You can hit me up at Twitter at Spencer Shaw, or you can do email, which is typically the fastest and best, which is Spencer at Business Growth Podcast. If you like the show, I'd love for you to leave a review inside of Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. Give a shout out to friends. It really helps us grow the show. Hopefully by now you can tell we're really not selling stuff. We're just trying to educate, create a community, and have some fun here. So again, any questions, hit me up, Spencer at businessgrowthpodcast.com. And I hope you're able to continue to grow your business.